Hello, my darlings. I hope you're all well and are having a fabulous day. In today's video, I am having a conversation with the lovely Lady Onyx and the incomparable Dr. Fred. Hi, guys.
Hey, hello, guys.
In today's video, we are going to be talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between about Love is Blind. We're going to focus on episodes 10 and 11. We're just going to be touching everything. If you haven't already, check out my review and recap of episodes 10 and 11 for the deep lowdown and the tea. Spoiler alert, this conversation will contain spoilers. I repeat, this conversation will contain spoilers. And without further ado, let's just get into it. Guys, where do we even start with what's going on in Love is Blind season 6 right now? First of all, is love really blind? Is love really blind?
Yes, it is. However, I do feel you still need to have sexual chemistry as well. We need to be realistic because you can make an emotional connection as they have in the previous seasons, but I think now everybody is thinking about the physical. They might not say it, but they're thinking in their mind, what does this person look like? Are they going to be my preference? Are they going to be my type?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but the whole point of the show is to find is Love is Blind. It's emotional connection, then the physical connection after.
Do you think, sorry?
No, I totally agree with Lady Onyx there. I would just like to reiterate that I think contestants have been corrupted by previous episodes and previous series.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, so it's like a catch-22 in how they behave, because sometimes they either want to present themselves and then they realise they're being filmed for Netflix, so it alters their behaviour slightly.
Yeah.
In certain aspects, and you can't catch the true form.
Yeah.
Until the shell breaks, or until an argument, or something shocking happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until they're in natural confinement. Yes. Yeah, I agree. I was just going to say the same thing. I do think Love is Blind. However, I really think this season, more than ever, their behaviour has been so contrived to follow a certain narrative. There's a lot of playing up for the cameras going on, I think, without giving it away. But it's not giving it away because everybody already knows. The only couple out of all of the couples that are left, and let's recap for the couples that are left, we have Amy and Johnny, AD and Clay, and Chelsea and Jimmy. And out of all of those three couples, the only couple that I really feel like the experiment has worked well for is Amy and Johnny. And I've said this from the beginning.
I agree, but I think Johnny needs to figure out the contraception situation. That's the only thing I think that will let them down. And with Amy, not letting her family get too involved in their relationship, she did say that they don't have boundaries. And I think if she keeps the boundaries, that would be great, but they need to figure out the contraception.
I think they did figure out the contraception, because I think she agreed basically that she would be the one that goes on contraception. I think they kind of come to an agreement. I think that happened in episode 10. Amy agreed to be the one out of the two of them that goes on the contraception, because Johnny realised that a vasectomy wasn't just a walk in the park. Which, how could he not realise that it wasn't just a walk in the park? What an idiot.
Yeah, maybe he's young. You can't put everything on Jamie's shoulders. Johnny's shoulders, sorry. Maybe that he's a bit young, and he might have been naive in certain aspects because he only would have dealt with girls that have been on contraception. So remember, I give him a pass because he's quite young, I believe. He's in his early 20s, so he could be naive to the situation on how it actually works on a woman's behalf. He might just be used to a certain type of female that is always on contraception.
Which is true. He did say that. However, I think like the question that we all asked here was, why didn't they just talk about condoms?
Exactly.
Never once did they bring that up. Like she clearly explained about her, concerns about being on contraception, but he was like, every woman that he has met has been on it, so his mind couldn't even fathom that
that
she's
what he
not on
said?
it. Yeah, he said every woman, and you just assume that everybody's on it. That's what he
Oh,
said.
no.
And that's when she was like, well, you know why I'm not on it at the moment. And then that's all they talk about, and it's like, either he's scared, he's like, I don't want a child now, in the next 5 years, I want to be doing this. It's kind of like he's so scared and
Yeah,
like
he's
a whoopsie.
petrified.
He's petrified of this mistake. Like, I'm thinking to myself, come on, you're making it out like there's nothing there, like
Yeah.
there's no contraception when there is.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do certain things, and then it's left on Amy, and now Amy's now agreed, and it's her body that's gonna have to deal with this.
Yeah. I didn't like that. I found him to be, as you said, it's definitely about a maturity level, but that pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie, that really pissed me off, because I just thought, like, why should the woman have to bear the brunt of your fears, basically? Do you know what I mean? Because ultimately that's what it is. And since when weren't condoms good enough? If you're making all of these demands, then actually you should be satisfied then with using a condom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a two-way street, I suppose. But I can't speak on a woman's behalf. But yeah, I can understand how contraception may affect her female body. But yeah,
Exactly.
it's a two-way street, I believe. The young man needs to come to terms with how there's another way how to do it, maybe from a male perspective, and take some of the pressure off of his fiancée to be.
Okay, so Amy and Johnny, outside of the contraceptive situation, realistically, to me, there isn't anything else that would stop the two of them from going ahead. I just feel like they're the most well balanced out of everybody, like mentally. There's obviously the fears that both of them have mentioned. They've got fears. His fear is obviously the contraception thing. Her fear is mainly concerned around her family, which her family are a massive, part of her life. But outside of that, they seem to be well-rounded, balanced individuals, so to speak. And or at least that's the perception that we're getting from Netflix, because I feel like this is something else that we really need to discuss where this show has been concerned this season. Netflix's edits and what's going on, and the fact that with certain couples we're just not seeing as much material as we should. So
As previous seasons, yeah, I agree. Because especially as an analyst, a behavioural analyst, you're going to want to see as much sides to the person as possible, and see them in as much different environments as possible. And we haven't got to capture that, or we got to capture that quite late in the season. I believe the dynamics and the power shift should have happened a bit earlier, in my humble opinion.
So I feel like that ultimately, for me, centres around AD and Clay. I feel like at the moment, so their scenes are lackluster, basically. We've got 2 episodes, 10 and 11. AD is all of a sudden ready to jump off a cliff without a parachute because she knows Clay will be there ready to catch her. And I cannot quite understand where all of that confidence has come from. I haven't seen any scene in this show that has given me any evidence that it is okay for her to be thinking like that. I don't know what's going on with their scenes. I don't know.
But I think in one of the interviews that Clay and AD had, and the rest of the castmates, Clay did say that his work schedule was impacting the time that he was able to spend with AD. So
Really?
sometimes he wasn't able to film. So that's probably why we missed chunks of their journey. Because now, if you think about it, she's more into it than ever before. The last episodes in between 6 and 9, I was a bit unsure. Does she really like him? But then when we get to 10 and 11, she's smiling more, the energy has changed, she's feeling more confident. And I'm like, there's something different about them. I don't know what it is, but they seem like they're getting to know each other a bit better. Like they're more likely to say yes than no. But I do think one of them is going to say no. I think she will say yes, but Clay will say no. But because we
100%.
haven't seen the development, it's kind of like, how did we get to this point? What have we missed? So it's kind of like we want to follow their journey, but I just don't believe it,
Yes.
sadly.
He's very, very hard to. He's very, very hard to study. To be fair, because he's got like I believe he's got a touch of the spectrum about him. The young man is very, very deep thinking, very in his thoughts. He blinks a lot, so I don't know whether it's a sign of indication of nerves or. I'm trying to pinpoint his mannerisms, and it's quite difficult at present. But I've got indicators, and where he comes off with a salesman attitude,
Yeah.
and he's very much about reassurance and making sure that his side of the deal, because I've always had it as a deal. They've made
You did say that.
They've made a deal with each other, and basically the deal is that they won't compromise each other in any way, shape, or form. Make each other look bad, like show each other in a negative light, and that's fair, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? For the sake of the show, that's okay. I believe that she knows full and well what's going to happen. That he's married to the work at present.
True.
Do you get what I'm saying? And like she's got that indication from the mum, the sister,
Yeah.
everybody that she spoke to on his side. Plus the gentleman's never in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll leave it at that really. But you know what I mean. I believe none of the couples will survive the aisle this season. You know, not even Bright Johnny, and Pocahontas. She's not gonna.
My God.
I don't think they will survive. To be fair,
Why?
You know what I'm saying? Because actually, there's a lot of pressures on them. There is a lot of pressures on them, and although it looks good, they always say watch out for the bump in the road, and I don't think they've had a sufficient enough bump in the road, regardless of the contraception.
Yeah.
I don't think they've had a sufficient enough. There's a twist or a plot to come, I'd imagine. If not, I'll be real let down by this season.
Oh wow. True.
Well, that's interesting, but if we go back to season 4, Tiffany and Brett didn't have a bump in the road, and they're still going really well.
True.
Like there was no red flags.
True.
Everything was plain sailing, and we all knew they were going to say yes. We had the reunion,
Love is blind.
and they were still
Love is blind.
in love, still developing, still going on their journey. And what is it now? Nearly 2 years, and they're still married. Still doing quite well. So I do think sometimes you don't necessarily need to have a bump in the road, but it kind of shows us how some of them have dealt with the hurdles. Like Zach and Bliss, they've overcome so much, and they're still married, and they're having a baby now. So I do think some couples do need to have that little bump in the road to see how it's really going to work, and some actually don't need it. They've just got on with it.
Because I think, and that is the element. No,
Elaborate on why I actually said bump in the road, because I know Lady Onyx picked up on it, which is excellent, and I do agree with her. Some couples don't need it. Some couples can.
Because love is blind.
Because love is blind to a certain extent. Some couples have paid and fully accepted the experiment for what it is, and the person who's in front of them for who they are. So they're fully adopted to the whole experiment. And some people came into this thing desperate for love.
Yeah, 100%.
They would have walked
Chelsea.
10,000 miles for a bit of love. Chelsea just couldn't believe the attention she was getting, and it got to her head. You know what I mean?
Amy and Johnny, to be fair, because he did say nothing adverse has happened in our relationship yet. I wonder when it's going to come. So I do agree with what you're saying, Dr. Fred. I do think that everybody will have their trials and tribulations. That's just life. And if they don't go through it now on screen, they are going to go through it in real life when there's nobody watching, and they'll have to obviously deal with that. However, I just feel like because there is genuine compatibility between the two of them, the issues are less. Obviously, everybody knows when you're living with somebody for the first time, see me and live with me are two different things, right? So them living with each other, obviously things are going to come up, but it's trivial and it's nothing that has shaken their relationship. Everybody I speak to doesn't really have much confidence in Amy and Johnny, so it's beginning to start making me think, why am I seeing something different? Am I seeing something? What is it that I'm not seeing as to why everybody thinks polar to me?
The only thing for me is I hope that Amy doesn't bring the family into everything, because
Yeah.
she did say like they overshare, she overshares, and I don't think Johnny would be pleased with that. It's not everything that happens in your relationship you're going to go to your mum and dad and siblings, and she said they have no boundaries. As long as she sets boundaries with her parents as well,
Yes.
then they will be good. But there's no way you can go into it knowing that every time there's an argument, every time something goes on, oh, she's going to run to her parents, then the dad and the mum are going to be on my case, then the brothers and sisters. I don't think that's healthy. I'm glad she shared that with him, but I hope that's something she's learning to not do as much. She can share, but not overshare, because
Yeah.
I think that would be a problem, because Johnny doesn't see the man that would like that.
Yeah. Agreed. You don't want your parents dictating every ounce of your relationship.
But then, did you remember when she said, if my dad doesn't give us the blessing, this
It's a
marriage
no.
won't go on? So that lets you know already, she takes their opinion very
Seriously.
highly.
Yeah.
So I know if anything is to go wrong or any red flags from Johnny, she will go to her parents, and what they say
True.
probably will sway her mind.
True. Her dad is lovely though. Her dad is so lovely. He seems like such a lovely man, because ultimately you can just tell that he holds her in so much high regard and he cares 1,000,000% about his daughter, as he should. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like that was a lovely moment. I don't know, I just really like them. That's all I'm saying.
I like them too, but she did kind of set it up that her dad was going to be a monster. She
Yeah.
did make it feel like, oh, my dad might not like you. He's
Yeah.
going to have high expectations. And then when we got to it, I'm like, oh, he's really nice.
It was a puppy.
Johnny was just like, oh, this is like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to give like a bit more hard time, but he was actually really nice.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously he did show how much he cares for his daughter. And
Yeah.
it's not the traditional way that he expected, but I think he's coming to terms with that. And as long as his daughter's happy and Johnny treats her well, he'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I agree. So, before we move on to Chelsea and Jimmy, I do just want to finish up talking about AD and Clay. The most peculiar couple. A couple of weeks ago when we first had our conversation, I was like, oh my gosh, I really like AD. I really like her personality. And I was really rooting for her. But over these last couple of episodes, my perception about her has really changed. Well, we already discussed that she's obviously quite damaged or broken. I don't want to say damaged. She's broken, and she's been working on healing and helping herself by having therapy, and she's very open about that, and that is brilliant. But she is a very broken person, and those cracks are very much apparent. In these last few episodes, she seems to have turned. To me, I feel like because nothing's going on in her own relationship, I don't even want to say, I don't know how to put this. There's nothing going on in their relationship. I don't even feel like, it's as if to say the relationship is non-existent. All we see between the two of them is physical contact. In fact, I see more physical contact with them than the other couples. So I feel like there's no real strong dynamic that we're seeing between her and Clay. And then we've just got a few ad-libs from her here and there. And the ad-libs that we are getting from her here and there are not good ones. Because first of all, why did she feel the need to lay into Sarah the way she did? I think that was out of control. I think she done way too much. I think she was rude and it was misplaced. And that was one of two things that was misplaced with her. Why did she do so much to Sarah?
I disagree.
What?
I think Sarah Ann, someone needed to speak to Sarah Ann, because how can you do that? If this was the real world, and if she was dating Jay, and then they broke up, and then a year later she found out that Jay was getting married, and then she just wanted to slide in DMs just to make sure, are you sure this is the right person, to try and get back in? How dare her even kind of see if the door's still open, knowing that he's proposed to somebody else? You had your moment with him. You didn't stand up for yourself in the pods, and then you waited for them to come out, and then, like, why message him? What to say? What did you think was going to come out of it? If you can do that and then think you're going to get this person, then that lets me know then what kind of man he is. You would put up with anything because you're going to be second best, because he never chose you. So I do think, like, I don't think AD's wrong. I didn't like the whole approach.
The
but
approach was wrong.
But I do feel she was right to say something, because at the end of the day, I think it's coming from a place where maybe AD in the past has been cheated on, or it's that hate. Like, why would you do that? We're all friends here. Why would you do that? And then you're coming around all of our men now. AD might be thinking, who's next? Is it going to be Jimmy? Is it going to be Is it going to be Clay? Did you have any other connections that we don't know of that you're just going to start going into the DMs? But Sarah Ann, come on, how could she do that? I think she was wrong.
I think. So sorry to cut you, Lady Onyx. I agree with everything Lady Onyx said, and I very much disagree with the host, because on this one, she really needed to be told on what time it was.
I agree.
That was very, very rude. Very, very rude. I would never see a man like worse somebody that I've spent better quality time with, and then see his woman and think, yeah, I've got a chance with her. No, that doesn't go. It don't go like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That to me is a bit wrong. That's where she made a mistake. Yeah, she was right to get pulled up on it. You know what I mean? Regardless of what she likes about it, people are going to have their opinions, and she has to be prepared to look like a tramp in front of America.
Agreed. No. Do you know what? No, that's fair, and also as well, it's really fair coming from a male as well. I agree with you, but I just think that the way AD handled it, it was misplaced, because Sarah was willing to listen and take on board what she was saying, but AD was coming across rude from the jump, because when Sarah was speaking to her, she wasn't acting defensive. She was just telling her everything. Every question that she was being asked, she was responding, and AD was constantly jumping the gun. I just feel like there was misplaced arrogance, or misplaced, I don't even know, misplaced aggression for no reason. For Sarah, yes, I agree that she did need to be told, but I feel like there's a way to do it, and I just feel like she overstepped the boundary.
I don't believe that. I personally don't believe that in it. At the end of the day, she got told, and then when she got told, she got in her feelings and started to cry. It's as simple as that, innit? Because you know how you come across to people. You must be aware of what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? You said, I'm going to shoot my shot. Yeah, but you done it in a sleazy way. True. And that's it. You know what I mean? That is it. Really.
But she did say the only reason that she could have done that is if Jeremy left the door open. And she did say Jeremy left the door open.
But I'm wondering, how did he leave the door open? Because she said when she left the pods, she didn't stand up for herself when he told her he's going to pick Laura, and then they went straight to the honeymoon. She sent that text message whilst I was on the honeymoon, and then he didn't answer, did he? When they first got the message, he showed Laura.
Yeah.
That should have been a sign. Leave it at that. He's ghosted me, or he doesn't want to communicate with me. But then they bumped into each other. So I think he how did he leave the door open? He didn't respond to your message. He just saw you out. And naturally, obviously, if you built a connection with someone, yes, of course, like, oh, put a face to the name. Oh, nice to meet you, finally. Yeah. And, keep it cordial. I could have had a 5-minute conversation just to check in, hope you're well, sorry that it didn't work out. I'm now happy, moved on with Laura. and kept it like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the door was open. I don't agree that he left the door open. I think she is just making that up to make herself look good.
Yeah, I don't agree, as I said before, because there's been ways to conduct yourself on display in the show with Jessica. You know what I'm saying? She could have easily acted like a tart.
Yeah.
Or, sorry for the frame of language, not a tart, but she could have easily acted loose. And, you know what I mean?
No, I agree. I think you're 100% right. This is something that I was speaking about in the review and recap. There's nothing wrong with them having a conversation because at the end of the day, they did have a connection in the pods. However, they had a private 6-hour conversation through the night while his fiancée, Laura, was waiting at home, and this conversation was private. There was nobody else present, nobody there to say whether something did or didn't happen. It was wrong. Because any conversation that should have happened really should have happened in the confinements of the show and televised for us to see the exchange. Do you know what I mean? So how Jess played it, Jess did wind me up a bit because to me she's acting like a bit of a giddy schoolgirl, but at least she followed the correct channels. You could tell she was bursting at the seams to have this conversation with Jimmy, but she waited, she bided her time, because she knew there was going to be a time. She turned up to the party looking like a bad bitch, and she had the conversation with him. And whether she left feeling satisfied, that is another thing, but at least she got to get everything that she had on her chest off, and we could see it. It was all above board. Whether or not she dressed provocatively or not is opinion-based thing. But as a lady, we know the vibes. Like we knew what she was doing, but she did it the right way. Sarah didn't. She was backhanded about it, and realistically, she left herself open. If anybody left themselves open, she left herself open. But she's as immature as him. Jeremy's very immature. Sarah's very immature. To me, I feel like she's just trying to get a come up. She's a TikTok or Instagram sensation, and she's just trying to do numbers for her platform. That is the kind of person that she comes across. And I was really sketchy about Laura in the first place because I thought she's immature as well, but she's got her head screwed on and she's got principles. I do think that she's a bit rude, and ultimately I don't think that she was connected with Jeremy, or she wasn't as connected with Jeremy as she was portraying. She didn't really love him, because let's face it, if she did love him, she would have gave him some grace, and she didn't. She was just like, I'm out. I'm done. First hurdle.
I totally agree. I think with Jay, if he had came out of the pods and went to the honeymoon...
Sorry, Jay is Jeremy.
Yeah, if Jay came out the pods and they went on the honeymoon and he could see, you know what, this is not working, I've made a mistake, and my heart is still with Sarah Ann, I'd have rather him done it the same way as Zach did it. Gone through the honeymoon and then come correct, you know what, Laura, this is not working.
Yes.
I'm still in love with Sarah Ann.
Yeah.
I'm going to pursue that. Mm-hmm. If he had done it like that, I would have respected him more.
Yes.
Because at least then we could have kind of seen their journey, if it would have worked out at the altar, if it was genuine or not. But because they went about it backhand, I don't think it's genuine. It's kind of like he is immature.
Yes.
And so is Sarah. Sarah's only here for the come up. But with Jay, I think he wasn't, like Laura said, he couldn't process that he had two connections.
Absolutely.
And I think he was finding that difficult. And there wasn't really any support because none of the men were talking about that. Like, whoa, you've literally come out of a triangle and then you're saying you love this person, but you haven't even had closure on it. You haven't even spoke to the person or anything. Do you know what I mean? So he didn't handle it right, and he is wrong for that. But I think if he had come correct, then we kind of would have got a better edit from them.
I totally agree with you, ladies, in that respect. And this guy is very immature. A statement of that was the way he was relaying the story to his mother, and they was both laughing about how he might have potentially broke a young lady's heart, and I thought that was quite ruthless.
Really?
Yeah, when he was talking to his mother about it, and they was both laughing. He was saying that he's been a naughty boy, and he needs to repent for his sins, and they was both laughing, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I did see that, but I think the mum was like, that couldn't have been me.
Yeah,
That couldn't have been me.
His
Like, the
mum's
mum
response.
just kind of set me straight. That couldn't have been me.
Yeah.
But I think she didn't fix him up enough for him to go grovelling back to Laura. It's kind of like we needed more of it was a short clip. We needed more of a conversation when the mum would have been like, how would you felt if that was me on the other hand, and dealt with him. Then I think he would have went back to Laura and grovelled and moved on to Sarah Ann, but she didn't give him the business.
But I think as well, what happened is, you're right, she didn't give him the business, and the way her body language was very blasé.
Very.
It was like, I was watching closely to give an indication of disapproval, and I couldn't see any. She was very relaxed with the situation, started laughing on occasions that another young lady's heart's been broken.
True.
So that's what I took from that, body language wise.
But did you? One thing though, not in the mum's defence, but she did say, I don't even know if this is genuine, but she did say, I'm surprised that this has happened because you seemed to be really falling for this girl. I've never seen you act this way about a lady. She did say that, but then, like you said, they did just move on quite quickly. It was quite blasé. It wasn't rooted. However, we do come to find that the man was engaged before the show. What's that about? Lady Onyx, I'm gonna get you to explain this one, because I know that you've seen an interview where it's explained.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, Trevor and Jay were both in relationships. Trevor was in a relationship with a woman, and there are text messages online. You can go on Instagram or TikTok and see that the woman that he was with knew that he was going to go on the show.
Is this
Trevor.
Jeremy?
Trevor. And then I think they had some kind of agreement, but I think the woman backed down, and then Trevor said, if you leak this, I'm going to expose sexual videos and I'm going to show this to your family members and child.
Revenge porn from Trevor, Mr. Notebook. No, don't. I felt sorry for that guy. I take it back.
I don't know what's the current status of that, but yeah, so we all thought he was a lovely guy and he was saying nice things about the Notebook.
Mr.
But
Mohawk.
Chelsea had a lucky...
Mr. Mullet.
Mr. Mullet. Oh, okay.
Chelsea had a lucky...
Excuse me, what?
Chelsea had a lucky escape. Now, when it comes on to Jay, apparently Jay was in a relationship with a woman that had a child. Now, we don't know if it was his child, but he was in a relationship with this person and they were going to get married.
What?
But he said that he had broken up with this person prior to the show. So it wasn't during the show's filming, but it was prior. But I think maybe what's happened is it might have seemed that he broke up soon just by going on to the show.
Yeah.
So, but really, if you think about it, if the relationship is done, he might have been finished 6 months prior, but then didn't tell her to like 4 months. So then when he's applied for the show, it makes it seem, whoa, you've just come out of this long-term relationship and then now you're going on to this show. It looks disingenuous.
Yeah, it does.
So I think at the reunion, I hope
Somebody brings
Nick
it up.
and Vanessa are going to go hard on him and ask him, what is that all about? What were your intentions? Why would you do this to Laura? And why would you do this to yourself? Is this genuine, or are you in here to find fame?
Yeah, thank you. Because, do you know what? One thing about Laura, as what is the word? As brash as she is, she's, to me, I feel like she's quite transparent. I mean, obviously, in the confines of what we know about them, but she just seems to be quite transparent. Jeremy is a storyteller, and I picked that up from the get-go. I was like, no, this guy, he paints a brilliant story from one actor to another. You're a good storyteller, brother. Because the way he was painting his stories and making everything seem very kumbaya and wholesome and perfect, like, I just thought, no, this isn't it. There's something about this guy. Now you're saying that he was engaged beforehand. Why not mention that? Like, why? It's not even, you're omitting the truth. Just like well, and again, like Jess not saying about the fact that she had a child in the first instance, but in the end, she did come around and she did say, and she also presented her reasons as to why she didn't give that information off in the first instance, which is, by the by, Chelsea said that she'd been married before. She let everybody know. Like, why lie? Why withhold that information?
He did say on his Instagram that he did let people know. We just didn't see it. So I don't know whether it's just a bad edit. And apparently the producers knew that he was engaged.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it was just a bad edit, because we don't see everything, and you might have had that conversation. But remember, in real time now, we don't know what if Laura was aware of this, and was still okay to go on with the journey of getting married.
Yeah.
I can just say, from a plot twist point of view and from a social analytic point of view, and maybe even a body language point of view, this has been very, very disappointing, this series thus far. The interaction between the couples have been bad. I don't know whether, as you said, as you've alluded to, the video shots need maybe some sort of change needs to be happening with the scenes. How the way they edit the scenes, but this season hasn't been good at all. You know what I mean? The way they've hyped it up and what they've delivered, I'm not impressed.
Yeah, I feel like all of the spice was shown in the trailers, and then actually when it comes to it, the trailers were obviously, and that's how it's supposed to be. They were kind of like out of context to what we actually thought it was going to be. There hasn't been any realness. I feel like that's what we're lacking. Dynamics wise, I feel like the only couple we've seen some real dynamics from has to be Psycho Sally and Jimmy. And by Psycho Sally, everybody, I mean Chelsea. The dynamics between those two, this girl has had this poor man on a roller coaster. This man has had some highs, but he has had some low lows. Chelsea and Jimmy's relationship. At this point, Jimmy can't do no right. He cannot do nothing right without this girl breaking down and blaming him for something that he hasn't done. If he hasn't said I love you within the last minute or so, if he's left her side for more than 30 seconds, it is a problem. I am really concerned about Chelsea's mental health. Like, I am very concerned about her mental health. So much so, and this is something that I mentioned at great length in my review, I feel like it was very uncomfortable to watch the scene between them two where she was clutching at straws and plucking things up out of thin air as to what happened when he went out for an hour for drinks with his best friends, who she knows. Like, that episode was really sick. It was really disturbing to watch. It's like she sits there and all of a sudden you see a change come over her and she just switches, and Jimmy stands there and takes it. And I even have to give him some brownie points, because for him to stand there and kind of take this constantly, being shouted at, being belittled, because she belittled him in this last argument that they had, which he calls the worst argument. And it really was, because she took private information that he told her off camera about his friends, about the fact that he slept with one of his friends, and literally threw it back in his face on television. And you can see that he was just absolutely floored when she said it, because he was like, Chelsea, I didn't tell you that for you to repeat that on national television. You could just tell it was one of those. This was worse than, what's it called? The Nipplegate scenario. It wasn't called Beangate.
Yeah, Bean Dip.
Bean Dip. This is worse than that Bean Dip scenario. He told her something in confidence to kind of really, and I suppose, be honest and truthful about the true relationship between him and those girls who he calls his friends. I suppose he told her in confidence what happened so he could be completely transparent. Because you can see one thing about him, you can see he's trying. You can actually see that he's trying to be open, he's trying to be transparent, he's trying his best with this woman, and he can't do anything right. She just threw everything back in his face. And then when he did kind of come correct and say, no, this is this, I'm not gonna leave my friends for you, that's not gonna happen, she then come with something else. Oh, I know you slept with Jess. And it just sounded pathetic, the way she just, do you know what I mean? She was going through all of these scenarios, and then to find that she was actually drunk when she was having this conversation. I thought, again, Netflix, what are you doing with the editing? Because you're making something appear as though it's not. Because if she wasn't drunk, would she really have spoke to him like that? So should they really be drinking on this show? Do you know? Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's a bit dangerous what's happening here. Does anybody see this?
It is dangerous, but I think reality is they are adults and they need to be responsible about their alcohol intake, because this is the real world for them now. Because they've never seen them drink, they've never seen them out with their friends and family. So it's about, well, how does this happen on the outside world? How do we come together? Oh, when they're drunk, what is kind of the sign? So then he knows, okay, she's drunk, let me kind of support her with this or get her home before she gets too out of hand, vice versa. But Chelsea definitely needs help. She needs to be in therapy immediately. So does Jimmy. I think if they are going to make it, they need to be in couples therapy and individual therapy. But one thing I did notice when they had the meet and greet with his family, I'm sure his dad said it's hard work. So I think he looks at love like it's going to be really super tough. So I think that's probably why sometimes he might be dealing with that, because his mum and dad have been married for over
46 years, I think.
And I think that's amazing. So he does have a good foundation
yes,
of that, but there's no way he can keep putting up with that with Chelsea. She really does need help, and I hope after the show she has sought therapy.
I couldn't agree more with you. In terms of the girl needing help, Chelsea, you need to sort your life out. You're running out of time, I believe, and I don't think you're going to make it to the altar if you carry on with this type of behaviour. Very, very insecure, like what you ladies said.
Yeah. But sadly, I really do feel like he is going to say yes. I feel like he's going to say yes. Sadly, I think Jimmy is going to say yes to Chelsea. She's definitely going to say yes to him. And I think he's going to go with it because now his mum and dad are invested. Everybody's invested now. I feel like he doesn't want to look a certain way as well. I feel like his family... I think it's this small town boy syndrome. Do you get what I mean? I really feel like it might be something like that. Everybody's watching now, so for him to back out, I don't think he could back out, even though he must know deep down within himself that this situation is completely wrong. She isn't right.
I think Jimmy will back out, to be fair. I'm in disagreement with you for the sheer fact that Jimmy don't seem like he's a type of guy that deals with pressure too well. He doesn't like confrontation. Jimmy's not really confrontational, and she's the opposite. And this is where the clash will come. There'll become a major clash, and he's going to be thinking about this closer to the time. I think he's already comfortable, or uncomfortable I should say, with the idea of the whole experiment as it is from the beginning. So for him to go through and say yes at the altar, I can't see that happening.
I think he will say yes, but it won't work. I think later on down the line, he's going to realise that he made a mistake, and Chelsea's going to be heartbroken by this.
Agreed. They're not going to work long term until Chelsea does some real work on herself and has some serious therapy. The both of them need therapy. Her issues really do outweigh the issues of the relationship of them as a couple. And I'm going to go as far as to say I feel like Chelsea does have some sort of mental health condition. I'm not going to throw any labels at it, and I'm trying to be really sensitive here because I don't mean this in a rude or condescending way. I do feel like she does suffer with some sort of mental health imbalance, and it's not just an insecurity thing. I feel like there's something more to it than that. And that's why I feel like watching it just seems so dangerous. It seems like a bit of a walking car crash happening in very slow motion, and somebody could leave the picture, but they're choosing to stay. Kenneth and Brittany. Kenneth's gone. Brittany's gone. I knew there was something about Kenneth that I didn't like. I just couldn't quite put my finger on it in the beginning because we didn't see enough about him. But I knew there was something about him that I just couldn't quite put my finger on. And now I'm just going to be really wild, guys. I'm going to be really wild and say, to me, I feel like really Kenneth is gay. I don't think he was looking for a relationship with a woman. I think he is gay. I've got a hunch. There was zero chemistry between these two. And the fact that he could think that he was smothering her with touch, and also he mentioned that he's never had complaints before, I thought, who are you lying to? Who have you been in a relationship with, for God's sake? In the beginning I thought, is he being reserved because of the Christian element? Because they really did speak a lot about their faith. However, she was like, even though we are saving ourselves, I want you to touch me. Like, she was really open about that. Like, I'm a girl that likes to be touched. And he was like, okay. She even had to say to him, she dropped it so many times, I started to feel sorry for her. Like, how do you feel about touch? And then he came with his headmaster self going, well, I think touch is a good way of expressing how you feel too. I just thought, no, you are as wooden as a chair. I don't know. He irritated me. And then the way he treated her when she was like, look, I don't really feel like you're giving me what I'm looking for. The compatibility isn't there. In the pods, I was seeing one thing, and since we've got home, I've lost that. I've lost the essence. I'm not seeing that man that I was speaking to in the pods. Where is he? You don't touch me. There's no intimacy. He turned it around on her, and then he was rude, got on his phone, told somebody to come pick him up, the friend, and this is in quote unquote here, his friend, to come and pick him up, and he was out of there. That was complete disrespect and disregard to her. Like, I hate the way he did that. Like, that gave me the ick. Like, he was just rude.
I think there was questions and question marks leading up to that. Do you know what I mean? He tried to play the best he could, and then the shield came down in the real world once he got his phone back. Yeah, I'm nothing to do with the LGBT community, so I won't really comment on if he's gay or not. But yeah, I think that once the shield came down, you saw the true Kenneth, and then work mode obviously kicked in, social life kicked in, back in your hometown. That was it. Life went on. I believe if he was getting the right affection from Brittany, he would have reciprocated it.
Dr. Fred, I'm going to disagree with you. I think what you're saying is completely wrong. There's nothing that Brittany could have done to make the situation any better. The guy just wasn't interested in her. The chemistry was lacking. The other half of the magnet was broken. She was being repelled. There was no attraction there. And there's nothing that she could have done. It wasn't anything to do with her. She tried her hardest. He checked out. He wasn't interested. Actually now got a really special guest called Empress LaPersia. Another guest in the house. Empress LaPersia, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. So, I think there was no chemistry between the two of them. There doesn't appear to be any chemistry. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually not surprised that the relationship has ended.
Yeah.
I think he could have made a bit more effort, but he's only going to make an effort with somebody that he's actually attracted to.
Yeah.
And I don't think he has that attraction for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
What can I say about Kenneth and Brittany? I'm not sure if Kenneth is gay or bi or straight, so I'm going to leave that at that. I do think Brittany was really here to find love and was genuine. However, Kenneth, after doing some research about him, he's one of the youngest principals in America because he's only 25 and he has been on reality shows about this. He's had some
Really?
global sensation and everyone has commended him for being a middle school principal. So I'm not sure if he is genuine in terms of coming on here for fame and to get
Okay.
notoriety
So
because
you
of him.
think you think he could have been coming on to basically presence,
Yeah.
social media?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think. I think Brittany was genuine, but not too sure about Kenneth. Hopefully, they will be at the reunion, and we can ask more questions about the breakup and about when did it happen, because it seems a bit odd. They were okay-ish at the honeymoon, and at the last episode,
They were dead at the honeymoon. I'm so sorry.
no, at the beginning when they did the meet and greets with everybody else, they
Yeah.
seemed fine, and then the ladies were like, "Oh, you brought the chair out." That bit was fine, but the bolt was awful. The silence was bad. The chemistry wasn't there. But when they came back home, we kind of saw the more of the disconnect.
Yeah.
But we didn't. I feel like it's been edited wrong. How did they just break up so quickly within that scene? So I do think like they've either edited it wrong or they might have re-recorded it.
I think when he saw Clay and AD together and he saw how stunning and beautiful AD was, he realised to himself that he can find a black woman equally as nice as AD. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Brittany. She's a lovely person. She
Yeah.
really is a lovely person. But there were questions that were asked as to say, okay, then you're going to have, biracial children.
Yeah.
That question should have been brought up between the two of them as a couple.
Which it
Never
was.
mind AD. So that was asked, and she said she would get on with it the best way that she could.
Yeah.
And that's the right answer. But
Because
I don't think that was enough
For
to
him.
to sustain the relationship any further down the road. There were other issues that he had that he weren't comfortable with, and that's why the relationship didn't go any further.
I would just say then, I agree with that, but I would just say that he's a coward. The guy is a coward because, again, he's constantly been, I'm saying constantly, only based on what we've seen, guys, but he's been prodded. She checked in numerous occasions to say, not getting anything, is everything all right? She kept checking in for the reassurance, and at no time at all did he say anything was wrong. He did obviously bring up the issue about the race and say that when he gets home, his family or his people, as he put it, are going to want to know that she is a good woman for him because he's never been in an interracial relationship. Absolutely. But she has been in an interracial relationship before. So she was like, I get it, I understand, but I'm here for you, and ultimately this is about us, I love you. Whereas to me, he seemed more interested in...
I wouldn't really use the word interest, I'd say concern, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think his family, his friends, are going to air some concern, and the same questions that AD asked him, I think his family will be asking him the same questions. I think that came to the reality for him.
Very true.
I'm not saying, like I said, I think she's a lovely person, and she really is a lovely person, and it's easy to say you can deal with something before the situation
Arises.
arises.
Very good perspective. We've spoken about a lot. So next week, or within the next few days rather, we've got the weddings. What do we think? What are our predictions? I'll give mine first. I bet we can guess. what I'm going to say. I really do think that Amy and Johnny are going to make it. There is going to be a resounding yes from both of them. I do think we're going to get a double yes from Chelsea and Jimmy, as sad as that may be. As much as I do really feel like he's going to be thinking, should I do this, should I do this? I really do stick by what I said. I don't think he's going to back out of it. I feel like it would be more of an issue for him to back out than just actually go through it. I feel like he's committed to put up with the madness. I really do. And AD and Clay, she's going to say yes and he's going to say no. She already said, oh yeah, we forgot to mention this actually. She said to him, if you say no at the altar, like the relationship ends there because I don't want to be a long-term fiance. And I feel like when he heard that, it's kind of like given him the reassurance that it's okay for him to say no. I don't know what the hell this man is doing on the show. Clay, I love you. Because I feel like he is lovely. My feelings about him were really up and down. But the more I see of him, I really do see a scared person. And I don't wrong him for his fears. But I feel like if you've got that level of fear about marriage in particular, then I'm not quite sure what you're doing on a show that is called Love is Blind that ultimately leads to a wedding within 28 days. Those are my predictions. Lady Onyx.
My predictions are Johnny and Amy will definitely say yes. Chelsea and Jimmy will also say yes. And when it comes to AD and Clay, I think AD is definitely going to say yes and Clay will say no. I do want to touch on Clay and AD quickly. Both of them are not ready to be married. They both need to be in therapy, which AD is. But I think if they do say yes, then I think they need to have couple counselling because Clay is damaged. The foundation that he had with his parents wasn't good and he's bringing that into relationship. And I think that's really going to impact their relationship. And AD, she needs help and support.
I feel like it impacts him as a person, not even just from a relationship perspective. I feel like him as a person, he's obviously very gifted, a young, talented man, and he's got all of his businesses going on and he's really driven in that way. But his parents' history seems to be shadowing his present existence, which isn't right because, as AD's mum says, those are your parents' mistakes and not yours.
Yeah, I totally agree. We'll have to wait and see. We've not got long to go. But I think we can have some twists and turns unexpectedly.
Dr. Fred.
I have to agree with Lady Onyx's analysis. But as for my predictions, I believe no one's going to get married. I believe there's going to be quite a lot of no's. Yeah, Amy, there's going to be a bump, as I said, or a hurdle in the way that's going to Amy and Johnny are going to have to deal with. Do you know what I mean? It hasn't come as yet, but it will. It's on the horizon. I believe Clay's not ready for marriage. He's committed to work at the moment, which is fair and it's understandable. Yeah. Yes, it is. It's understandable because he wants a long-term fiance and she said she's not ready for that. So she's making him know from early that's not what's happening. It's like what Lady Onyx described. And then the dynamics of it, like what I said before, is like a business relationship rather than a business, rather than a love relationship, if that makes sense. It's very for the cameras. Chelsea and Jimmy, it's a no. I believe Jimmy's going to say no because everything's going to weigh up in his mind and he's going to realise what he's going to have to live with at the end of it.
I will say with AD, I'm glad she mentioned about not being a long-term fiance, and I do agree with that because the whole point of this experiment is to find a husband or wife. And I think after, if he wasn't going to marry you on TV, do you really think he's going to marry you off camera? We've never seen any of the other cast members from previous seasons say no at the altar and then get married. It's ended really badly. So I hope that she sticks to what she says and moves on gracefully if he does say no. Because I don't think it's fair for her then to have a long engagement knowing that this man has no intentions, and all he's going to say is, well, you know I need work, you know I come from a difficult background, I still need support with this, are you going to help me? I don't think that's fair to lead her on. But he's being truthful, but she's blinded by the truth, and hope on the day she knows her self-worth.
Nicely put. What are your final predictions? So for AD and Clay.
Okay, so I think they are going to make it down the altar. I do. I think that they are going to make it down the altar. AD's keen. I think she does have some inhibitions about it, but I think they are going to. I think they are going to get married.
Oh.
Yep.
Do you really think Clay's going to say yes?
Yes, I do.
I feel like putting a wager on this. Okay.
I do, and I don't think that he would. And if he is going to say no, I don't think he'd wait until he got to the altar to tell her. I think he'd tell her before. Yeah.
Amy and Johnny.
Amy and Johnny, I think they're going to get married.
Yeah.
However, I've got concerns about the children, or not having children until a certain time. I think that may cause an issue, and I think she's thinking in the back of her mind, is this really what I want to do? Because she does want children. And then taking contraceptive as well, which, you know, she's obviously got an issue with. So, you know, she's going to have to take contraceptive for about 5 years. And from what he said, I don't think that she's going to be happy with that.
That's true. He's a bit rigid with it.
He's set in his way. He's very set that this is what I want and this is how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if he's not prepared to bend, because even if she does go on contraceptive, there's nothing to say she couldn't get pregnant. Things do happen.
Yeah.
Things do happen. What will happen then?
Yeah.
What would happen then if a situation like that arose? What would he do? What would his expectation be? And I think that question is paramountly important that it's had before they say I do.
I love hearing an elder perspective. I really do love hearing an elder's perspective, because that is 100% true.
Just be honest. If the relationship is based on love being blind and being open and honest about things, and if you're not going to talk about things that matter, what's the point of talking about the things that don't matter? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
That is something that really matters. It's a make or a break of a relationship.
Absolutely.
So, you know, contraceptive works, but there are times where it hasn't for whatever reason. So the question needs to be had.
Chelsea and Jimmy.
No, they're not getting married. I don't think that that's going to happen, to be honest. As we've been saying, Chelsea's got a lot of issues going on. So, no, I don't think they're getting married.
Right.
Just wanted to say, what does everyone think about the wedding dresses?
Oh my God.
That's something that we forgot, but I just need to say this. AD, I think the first dress that she chose was really nice. It was a mermaid, plain, but it fit her really well. And then the second dress, I wasn't too keen. My only downside is the veil. I don't like Deaf do us part. Now, can someone please answer this question? It has been going around on social media that the spelling was wrong.
Are you joking on the veil?
It does look tacky to me. What's everyone's thoughts?
Sorry, because if you watch any other videos on my channel, which I hope you do, you know how much I love fashion and commentating about it. That veil was despicable. Like, I feel like it was morbid even to see the words death on your wedding veil as you go down the aisle. I don't like that at all. And I think she did actually choose that dress, because in the trailer Did you see that in the trailer? You see the veil, and it is the deaf duel's part. The first dress was okay. It weren't fabulous. It was plain, but it was a gorgeous fit. And to be fair, because of her body is so banging, anything that she puts on is gonna look good. First dress was lovely. Didn't really like the second one, and I don't really feel like those dresses were anything to write home about. And furthermore, I'm really sick of seeing her twerking. Like, I feel like she sexualizes herself quite a bit. No.
I disagree with that. Yeah, I strongly disagree with that. When I looked on her Instagram page, as we all know, she was a dancer, and they do wear next to nothing. So I think she's always wore clothes like that anyway, and I think because she's in a world with athletics people, she's got to look good, she's got to look a certain way, and flirtation, and so I do think that's naturally just her, and I think there's nothing she can do regarding her body at the end of the day. No, because I think some people say even if she can't dance or she can dance good, it's always going to be perceived a certain way just because the way she looks.
I don't think no, hang on. Don't mistake me. I'm not saying...
Lady Onyx has a point.
I'm not... Don't mistake me. I'm not saying that the dancing that she does in her profession would deem her to be overtly sexual, because ultimately she was a cheerleader, right? But I feel like she's got a certain energy about her, and it comes across as sexualized. Unfortunately for her, I feel like she's got a beautiful personality, and I said that at the beginning, but her thing in this whole show has been about her body. And I'm thinking there's more to your body, there's more to you than your body. And then ultimately that, like, winding up in the wedding dress, I just didn't like that. I just thought, you're crying 1 minute and then the next, no. It's just, yeah, I just, no, I didn't.
I like to see the woman twerk, to be fair.
Would you?
Yeah, it was a lovely little experience, you know what I mean? To be honest, I leave her alone, because it's like flexible the way they have to be dancing all the time. They have to be in short skirts and whatnot. Yeah, but it doesn't matter if she's in that profession. That's her background, so she's comfortable with it. So we've got to leave her to express herself any way she wants. I can't speak for women, but if I saw a woman twerking for me like that, I'd feel glad in my heart. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I can't. There you have it. Those are our predictions. Well, we shall see on Wednesday what happens. Lady Onyx, is there anything that you would like to say before we close out? No? Dr. Fred, is there anything you would like to say before we close out? Okay. And Lady LaPersha, is there anything you would like to add before we close out?
Here comes the bride.
Woo woo! And is love really blind? Thank you so much for listening, my darlings, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!